sense, and this one's glaringly showing just on paper for that ball field, it doesn't. So we need to fix that. I think we got some time, and we should
Yeah, and I think we need to
put the best effort into it.
Think outside the box a little bit more than just whether or not it pays. But as Jim mentioned, and I think it's a brilliant thing, the location of this ball field there are trees, there's green space, so it might be a precious commodity in this part of the city that we seem to like to cut things down.
Just careful on soccer fields. There's lots of whistles
soccer
and
fields,
kids and juice boxes
don't have a lot of
and
trees.
straw wrappers and lots more parking needed.
Yeah.
But so
I just think it does bear a lot more consideration than just a simple up or down.
Just a quick question for some feedback. So, I think the key here to that being successful is the utilization. And we're proving in the methods that the city's using over the last few years that it's not working. One thing to consider is to just remove the city from the structure of scheduling and charging the fees and letting the American Legion do that on their own, because they find a benefit by having people come there and spending money at the fish fries and the beverages and so forth, that they have a vested interest to put effort into trying to utilize that facility. And what would be your thoughts on maybe during these negotiations that maybe we let them, if they want it, manage those activities?
Well, I think we have a discussion and action on terminating the lease, and I'm not in favor of that. I think what we need to do is discuss more, all those ideas.
I'm comfortable with discussing more, and I agree with the mayor, and in the conversations that we have had with them, that it makes sense that they have more of a vested interest, because it's not just the leasing of the field where revenue is generated. It's the hot dogs, the beer, the soda, et cetera, et cetera. And if that's a loss leader for them, so be it. But I think there could be a win-win. To Tim's point.
One thing that has come up over the years is the city has attempted to collect 100% of their costs from those fees.
No, we don't come close to covering our costs.
Which has driven
recreational
so
programs.
high. And I was involved in this, so we tried to collect a fairly high fee that the clubs complained about. So now they either have gone away or maybe there's no more baseball. I'm not sure. But and I know the Legion would get a benefit because they had some bar business, I think, from some of these leagues being there. But clearly, we never seem to meet on a budgetary sense where we collected enough. And this is when I was on Park and Rec, that we kept going back to saying, how much this is costing us, and we got to try and collect this money, and the market wasn't there at that price. So I'm not saying we should subsidize it, but now we're subsidizing it.
Yeah, when we've looked at costs that we're trying to recoup, it's typically just the cost of the lime and the one or two guys that are raking the fields out and lining the fields right before the game. It doesn't go into the $8,000 lease payment and the quarterly sewer bills and the cutting the grass and the plowing the snow. And there's no municipalities that are recouping their costs from recreational programs. They're done as a community benefit, and they try to recoup a bit of the cost.
Right. It's a nonprofit. It's meant to be a service.
Exactly.
I just want to make a comment that I was thinking about when you kind of mentioned it. One, I really like the idea that I think there's probably a lot of room here to maybe negotiate and reduce the rent, if not even give it to them for free. But we maintain it, but then they have the right to sell it or sell it gains or whatever and manage that schedule. But the other thought was, the tourism and promotion committees are dying for us to give them programs to spend money. They're reducing their expense to us or the city, and this is a great, I think, program that they could help fund.
See?
Hear, hear.
I have a meeting tomorrow.
Let's do that.
Well,
Okay.
we have to view it that way, that some of these things we're collecting this revenue this is kind of tangential, but we're collecting this tourism revenue that narrowly focuses is to promote hotels. Well, the reality is, we have people visiting this place for all kinds of reasons. And parades are one of those things, car shows are those things. And so, I have to ask the Tourism Council to be more flexible, but I think this is a good example where it's a cost that's identified.
Yeah, so, I mean, those dollars are supposed to be, they can only be used for tangible municipal development related to tourism. So I think you could make a case for using that money to put in a new backstop or put in new bleachers or something.
It's not 100%, but you parse this thing out as to what we're buying. But there's elements here that I think are covered by that.
Yeah, so it's something to dig further into. I think that's a great idea.
Well, because there's these different moving parts here, can we just leave this on the agenda moving forward and let's look for updates?
Well, why don't you give us a couple months
I'll make
to-
a motion to put this back on the agenda in March
Okay.
Second.
2020.
Second.
Discussion and possible action.
Alrighty, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay,
Thank you.
your agenda item's over. You're welcome to stay for the rest.
It's gonna be fine.
We're never offended if people leave early.
Right, we're never offended if you leave early.
Mostly envious, never offended.
Thank you.
Thank you.
4B, discussion and possible action to amend the City of Delafield Municipal Code, Section 2.02, regarding the meeting times of the Common Council. Michelle, you or Tom, who owns this one?
Yeah, as identified at the last meeting, there was inconsistency with our municipal code and the meeting schedule that we've been following. So as requested, we put together proposed ordinance change that would accomplish the flexibility and meeting schedule that we've come accustomed to here the last few years, and that would allow for the proposed schedule for next year.
That was me complaining. I was just concerned
No.
that someone was gonna say.
But if you don't like the code and
Hey.
you're doing things different, then you should address it and
Well,
fix
right,
it.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure we were following what yeah, thank you.
When the spotlight gets put on it, we should fix it, if we can't get to it sooner.
Well, I like it, and I'll make a motion to approve it as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. 4C, discussion and possible action on proposed daylight policy presented by Alderperson Valdy and Alderperson Eicher.
Yes, if you look at page 84 in the e-packet, Michelle put together this really nifty little diagram of who does what, like what the policy is, why do we need it, what policies and decisions will be included. Just laid it out really nicely, and so that you can see what the idea is.
I agree. I like this format is simple. I mean, this is essentially formalizing the common sense approach that staff takes as far as how we need to get the word out, but also stating that we want to reach out and let the department heads know monthly deadlines to say, hey, get this information to the clerk, and we're doing a best effort basis to get this stuff out to constituents, so we have something to point to when there's you guys never tell me what's going on, and why didn't you call me? And we can just simply say, here's our policy, we're following it. If there's an issue with it, maybe we need to change the policy, but this is a good way to formalize it to say
Yeah, I think
that
it
this is what
really,
we
and
do.
it's routinized, so that there are things that happen on a routine basis. If there's something a little bit outside the box, just the second to the last chunk there talks about notifying people, property owners or others who live nearby. So it's ticking pretty much every little box from, mosquito repellent to, small public works changes or whatever. I just really appreciate the way you laid this out, Michelle. I think.
And I do like the inclusion of the citizen responsibility as well.
I agree. So.
Okay. Motion to...
I'll make a motion to approve the daylight policy.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Item 5A, Mayor's Report, discussion and action to appoint Kevin Maples to the Delafield Commission from an alternate member to a citizen member to replace Sean Schwabel, whose term ends 5/31/2021.
I'll make that motion to have Kevin be a full-time member of Delhart.
Second?
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passes.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Seeing no new business, we'll move on to item 7, reports of city officials. Mr. Administrator.
Yeah, several things here that to update you on. Just to let you know, we talked previously about these stormwater basin inspection letters. Those have gone out, the majority of them. So we will look forward to working with the various property owners and making sure that we get those basins inspected properly. Item number 2.
Before you move on to that,
Yep.
please, if an alderperson gets a call from one of their constituents that received this letter, what should they do?
Refer them to myself.
Tom Hefner.
The letter that we included also has the contact information for the SCH representatives.
So SCH is notified as well. I mean, their contact info is there.
Yes.
The letter that's in there has their contact
Okay.
information as well. Not that I don't want Tom to answer, I just, that's
Some
what
are-
we told them. to
Some are
follow.
very straightforward. I know we went over this before, I just want to repeat it. Some of them are very straightforward. We know we have it going to the right person. Some aren't quite so straightforward, right? Some people are going to get this letter that really had no idea that their association was responsible for this retention pond, right? So, you know, our goal is to educate and explain to them, and we have a lot of resources to do that, right? So we just need to point them in the right direction.
Agreed. It's nothing they didn't sign up for.
Right.
It's all negotiable. We just passed the stormwater management plan earlier for the new condos. I mean, these are things that were all done.
Right.
So this isn't it might be a surprise, it's just not a new surprise. It's what
And
they've always
they
signed up
may have been in their association for 15 years and never heard about it before, right? But doesn't mean the law and the rules haven't existed. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. The second
Just like
item,
sewer hookups.
what was that, Jim?
Just like sewer hookups.
Correct.
The second item, we received notice of a class action lawsuit regarding the opioid crisis. The only action item that the city would have is if we want to opt out of the class action. I've spoke to Attorney Hammis, and he suggested that we not do that, and so that's the direction we're going unless the council directs me otherwise. Item number 3, update regarding the Milwaukee Street project. Milwaukee Street project is largely done. Most of the people that live along it are very happy. We've received some complaints about the quality of the ride, the workmanship, the rideability of the road, a little bit wavy or bumpy. We've made the contractor aware of our concerns, and they're discussing it internally, and they also have some assessment tools for driving the road and giving them a rating to understand what the quality is, and we are looking to see if we can work out a workmanship quality credit. I think everybody involved is in agreement that it's not severe enough to warrant any physical repairs. Physical repairs lead to increased number of joints, differentiation and pavements and things like that, which are all negative things with regards to long-term maintenance. So we are just looking at a possible credit there.
Does it make people slow down?
You could argue that they're mini speed bumps.
Mini speed
Inadvertent
bumps, I love
speed
it.
bumps.
Any questions on that?
I have a question on the roundabout. Today they were paving and they were routing traffic through the Kohl's parking lot. I didn't think they could detour through a private parking lot. Are they allowed to do that, to have their flagmen detour people through Water Street Brewery and then up through Kohl's?
So I was not aware of that, and I don't know if they may have coordinated with Kohl's to get temporary permission to do that, but that's something I could look into.
Okay.
I just didn't. You said they were paving today. I was understanding they were pouring concrete today.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had but they had people as you were coming eastbound from like Century. They had you pulling in at the first outlet there by Water Street Brewery, going in the parking lot and then come out on the other end. And I didn't think they could do that.
Isn't there a liability factor for that?
That's what I was curious about with us. That's what I didn't want when people. That was at about 2:30 this
Yeah, in
afternoon.
the afternoon, the eastbound traffic, they did that in the morning. The westbound traffic, they exited at the, where the Starbucks you pull in there, and they had you go down through the Marshall parking lot, through the hotel, through Applebee's and back on. Because I was there 3 times today. But
Yeah.
I think that was just today they're doing that, because they were pouring the cement in the middle roundabout portion.
It's got to dry, right?
Well, no, you don't drive on
I
that.
thought part of our
Drive.
agreement was, yeah, they'd be still going through that instead of detouring. So.
Yeah, unless they got permissions from the property owners, they shouldn't be doing that. I will look into that
Right.
right away. I was hoping to give a very positive update regarding this project.
You weren't here this afternoon when I came over. I was going to tell you about it.
We got pavement down on Friday. They did that in the middle of the night. It worked well for them. I think we should have a lot of happy business owners in that area and residents that are tired of driving on potholes and whatnot. It's been quite a difficult task for the contractor to keep that in drivable condition. Any amount of rain turned that thing to potholes very quickly. If you remember, it's kind of one of the things that we had to give when the bids came in over budget. The original design was going to include temporary pavement at various stages of construction, and that it would have been very rare for people to drive on compacted asphalt. It was going to be a finished asphalt for most of the project, and I think we saved about $150,000 by taking that out of the bid. So yeah, it was difficult, but we got pavement down, so I'm excited about that. Today they poured the concrete on the inside of the roundabout, the red colored concrete. And my understanding is they're scheduled for final lift of asphalt paving on Thursday. Weather allowing, because I think they're calling for rain. But they're talking about paving that like 10 o'clock at night on Thursday night. And I think it's October 12th is the date they're trying to hit for final substantial completion, which is the date where they maximize their incentive. There was an incentive as part of this contract.
To finish early.
To finish early. It was incentive worth $1,500 for every day early that they finished, up to a maximum of $20,000. So I think things are coming together well. I think it's going to be a really nice project, and we'll see what's going on with those the detouring of the traffic and make sure we're doing what we should be out there. Two more things that aren't on here that I just want to touch on. First of all, you all received an email asking about your flexibility in adjusting the budget workshop date. I've now received confirmation from everybody that the 29th works instead of the 17th. So we will get the word out tomorrow confirming that, and we really appreciate that flexibility.
6 PM meeting?
Yeah, it'll stay at 6 o'clock. And then lastly, some people may have heard, I don't know if how the word travels, but last week, overnight Thursday into Friday morning, we had a fire in the Public Works building. It was a relatively small fire. It was very contained to one tool room. It's a confined room, and the fire exhausted itself. But in the room, there was some fairly decent damage to some tools, some cabinetry, some inventory of supplies, things like that. The insurance inspector was out that morning, and we'll get that all repaired. As far as a source, there's nothing plugged in that area. The one thing that we think it most likely was is a small butane welder, very small butane welder. It's used for welding electrical connections to make them waterproof. It hadn't been used for a couple days. Our guys know not to put it away warm or hot or anything. But still, we're suspicious about that, and we've already identified a new tool, an electrical tool that will allow us to get rid of that tool and use a better tool. So, any questions on any of my report?
So the budget workshop's 29th?
Yes.
No other date, just that date?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, we'll move on to the clerk.
I just want to say the budget workshop is here in the Common Council chamber still, Tom? Not
Yes.
at the other building like
Yes.
it has been? Okay. just making sure. For the clerk, discussion and action on the voucher list, please.
Move to approve the voucher list.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passes.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everybody to send in their communicator articles. I've only had the police department and the public works department submit theirs. Nobody else has sent me anything.
Mary's got the draft and ready
Oh.
to send to you.
Great.
What's the deadline?
November 1st.
Gotcha.
It's a Friday. And then another reminder, if you know anybody who would like to be a poll worker, please let us know. Since my last announcement, we've only had 2 people show interest. So we're still at half of what we would like to have for all 4 elections for the 2020 cycle. That's all I have.
All right.
Great, thank you. C, council requests for future agenda items. Any future agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on to correspondence, and I'll refer you to the packet. And seeing no further business, number 9, we are now adjourned at 8:16.